wonderful experience. And even though I'm not as experienced as some of the wonderful speakers we've seen so far, I do kind of have an outlook that I like to apply to not only my life, but specifically my school. And it seems cliche. I promise it's very cliche, but it's gotten me thus far, and I hope it will help you. It's to do what I love and to love what I do. Thank you. So, in 8th grade and in 9th grade, I found out about Generation Citizen, and it was a really amazing opportunity because it really opened my eyes to how young people can impact their communities and use their passions, do what they love, and cause change. And that became what I loved to do. I loved to see how I could go out into my community, even if it's just my school, which is relatively small, and ask people how they feel about a certain topic, gather information, opinions, and use that to change my school, my community, my state, and hopefully, because Generation Citizen is expanding and becoming such a nationwide movement, hopefully change the nation and the world. So along with changing my community and my society, I'm very passionate about writing, and I know we've already heard that, but it's really something that's special to me because I've had so many great encounters with writing, with poetry, especially with programs like Poetry Out Loud, and just I've always found great confidence in my writing. I've tried to compose some music that didn't work out so great. But I write poems, short stories, and now I'm writing articles for the school newspaper. And it's something that's really special to me because it was a really great opportunity to have my voice be heard. So during freshman year, I began to struggle with a little thing called procrastination, and we've all done it. And I would write these essays in such a time crunch, and I'd begin to doubt myself, the ability that I had to write, this skill that I had once felt so secure in. I began to doubt myself, and I thought about, what if I'm compromising the position that I so want to have as a student reporter? What if me procrastinating it is going to lead to a future where I don't get to share my voice? So I started to think about that and try and get it together. And it took one teacher to really see that, how hard I was trying to have my voice be heard and my passion for writing, and she really took a chance. She took a leap of faith, and every day after school we would talk, and she understood me and she understood my passion for writing, and she wrote the recommendation that got me into the Blue and Gold, which is the school newspaper that I write for. So now one of the most recent articles that I wrote was on the new principal that we have, and he joined us in an Ask the Principal night really recently, and what he said was so important, and it kind of shocked me that there were so few parents and students there, because when I want to say something important, I know that my voice is valuable, and I know that it's worth being heard. So I must have thought, how must that principal feel? Because so few parents were interested in what he was going to say, even though it was so important to our school and to our community, because he's new and there are going to be changes. And then he said something that really impacted me, and because it really lined up with my philosophy. He said, to learn as much as possible and to make intelligent choices, changes for the better, not changes for the sake of making changes. And I thought, wow, that's really important to know, because all of these new changes are coming about, and if he only makes changes because he thinks they're important, how important must these changes be to him in order for him to make these changes? And if I started thinking about, if I hadn't covered the event, so many parents, so many students wouldn't have known the importance of the changes that were happening in their lives. Even though they were aware of it, they wouldn't have known how important it was to the principal, to their community, that these changes were so important to them, but they weren't realizing it because they hadn't attended the event, because they didn't know the principal, because they hadn't been interested. And I realized that just like my teacher had given me the chance to voice my opinions in the way that I felt most comfortable in, which was through my writing, by writing and by covering events that are important, I was giving other people the chance to have their voice be heard as well. And I just wanted to share with you guys the importance of valuing your passions and using that to cause change in your society, because intelligent change begins, like my principal said, with learning through listening. Thank you.